Hello beautiful people, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video I'm going to be sharing with you what we had for dinner this week. I have 3 delicious recipes that I'm going to be sharing with you, so let's go ahead and get this thing started with night number 1. I decided to make $1 million spaghetti. So I do make this recipe a little bit different than most people probably do. I don't put the cottage cheese in there just because my husband doesn't like for it to be really like liquidy and cheesy. So I just use a whole block of cream cheese, and then I cube that up and melt that down as much as I can. You don't want it to melt completely down because it will take forever, but I do just try to melt it down more, and I am adding that in at room temperature. And then once it's melted down a little bit, you're gonna add in your jar of sauce or your handmade sauce, whatever floats your boat. Either way is fine with me. Over here, I'm just gonna be heating up some garlic in a pan, and then I'm going to be browning up my ground beef. And as you can see here, I've already drained it, and I'm going to be adding it to the sauce. While all this is taking place, in the background, I do have my spaghetti noodles going. And you are just going to combine the sauce to make sure all the ingredients are mixed well. I do like to season my spaghetti sauce even more by adding garlic powder, onion powder, Italian seasoning, whatever you like to go into your spaghetti sauce. So now that everything is cooked, I'm going to combine the sauce and the pasta, and I'm going to mix that well, and then you're going to put it into a baking dish. I am using just a Pyrex. It's a pretty deep baking dish just because I like for the $1 million spaghetti, because it is kind of like a pie in a way. I like for it to be deep. And then I am going to top this with some Parmesan cheese, some mozzarella cheese, and then a little bit of garlic salt. Once you have everything added to the baking dish, you are going to bake this on 350 degrees for about 20 minutes. I would just check it because I typically leave it in there a little longer because I like for the cheese on top to be nice and crispy and golden brown. But again, it's a preference, so whatever floats your boat. If you like it more gooey and cheesy, pull it a little earlier. If you like it a little crispier, leave it in there for about 10 more minutes. So here is the finished product. As you can see, the cheese on top is nice and crispy, and I did serve this with a side of garlic bread. Super yummy, and I highly recommend. So on night 2, I am making crock pot steak fajitas. These are all the seasonings that I'm going to use to get the fajita seasoning. And then unfortunately, Aldi left out my peppers for this recipe, so all I had was onions. And then this is the steak that I'm using for the fajita meat. Aldi was also out of crock pot liner, so I did spray the bottom of the pan, added the meat and then the onions, and put all the seasonings on top. And you're gonna cook this on low or on high, depending on how much time you have. I cooked it on high for about 4 hours, and then I just shredded up the meat with this little tong because it was so tender I didn't even need to get out the blender. So I shredded up some cheese. I also got out the sour cream, some hot sauce, and a few different kinds of salsa. And then here are the fajitas all plated up. These were so delicious and the flavor was amazing. I will have the complete recipe listed in detail in the description box, so make sure you check it out. This was one of my favorite recipes of the week. So on this night, I talked my husband into sharing his delicious chicken wing recipe. So here he is measuring out all the different seasonings. Again, I will list this in detail in the description box down below. I wanted him to kind of talk to you guys and tell you as he went, but I think he just forgot, and that's fine because I do the same thing. That's why I always do a voiceover. It's just easier to go back in better detail as opposed to when you're actually cooking the food. But he's just measuring out all the seasonings before he gets started, and he does use actual chicken wings. So trigger warning if cutting up bones of chicken is bothersome, just skip through, but he will be chopping up the chicken wings in the next scene, so there's your fair warning. So basically what Matt did is he got on YouTube or something and he found a recipe, and he has tested this recipe over and over and tweaked it and made it his own. So he adds different recipes, he takes away, or not recipes, he adds different seasonings and takes away seasonings and just adjusts it accordingly. And seriously guys, these chicken wings are better than any chicken wings that I've ever gotten in a restaurant. So if you're like me and you don't like to chop up meat, especially meat with bone, you can definitely buy the frozen pre-cut chicken wings in the freezer section, and that would work just as fine. Just make sure that they are thawed. So here he is combining the chicken wings and the dry rub seasonings. We got this hot sauce from Cabela, so he is adding a couple of dashes of that into there. And it did really amp up the flavor, and I highly recommend, if you can get your hands on this hot sauce, to get some because it's really tasty. But you can do without it if you're not a spicy person, a spicy fan, whatever. They're really good without the extra spice, but they do have a little heat to them, so if that's not your jam, then you can leave out some of the spices. But we like a little heat over here, and they're just so good. My mouth is watering right now just thinking about them. We also fry these up in the air fryer. 10 out of 10 recommend this method. It is less messy and just as delicious, and it's a little bit healthier, because chicken wings on their own can often be not the most healthiest thing on the planet. But when you put it in the air fryer, I feel like it just adds a little bit of healthiness to it. So he's just spraying it down the bottom of the air fryer pan, and then he's gonna add just a single layer of the chicken wings. That is one thing, you can only do a single layer at a time when you air fry them, because you want them to get crispy and cook evenly. We do cook these on the highest heat setting, which is 400 degrees, and then we do flip them about halfway through, and I think total it ends up being about 35 minutes for the first batch. But here I am just showing an example of that. And here they are all done, nice and golden and crispy, and these are just so, so delicious. So I just want to thank you guys so much for hanging out and for watching today. If you like this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already, and thanks for being my kind of weird. Bye!